A very good morning, students. Today we are going to concentrate on a new chapter, that is Animal Kingdom. Already you have studied about the biological classifications, and under that you have understood the various classifications of animals and the plants. And today we are going to concentrate on this Animal Kingdom. By studying this chapter, you will come to know about the basis of classifications. In the sense, we have millions of animal species, but all these species are difficult to categorize them into different groups. But through this basis of classifications, scientists have classified all those millions of animal species into various groups. So in this animal kingdom, you will come to know about on what basis the scientists have classified the animals into various groups. So first, what you are going to study in this chapter is the basis of classifications. So under this basis of classification, you will come to know what basis or what fundamental features the animals are being classified. Okay, so that is what the basis of classification is. So second one, what you are going to understand is, after classifying those animals based on certain fundamental features, there are two different groups of animals have been classified. So that is called the non-chordates. Non-chordata means all the invertebrates. So scientists have classified based on certain fundamental features. They have grouped certain animals comes under all non-chordates. So all they are called invertebrates. And finally we will study about the chordatas. Chordate means the vertebrates are all called chordates. So in this chapter we are going to focus on only these three important topics. One is the basis of classification, number one, and second one is the non-chordatas. In non-chordatas you will be studying about the various phylums in it. So every phylum we will be discussing in detail, so non-chordates. And finally we will discuss about what is chordate, their fundamental features, and then the different classes and subclasses of this chordates. Okay, a very interesting topic. At the same time, you can understand more, you can get more knowledge on this animal kingdom. Clear? Right. So before we could go into this chapter in detail, first before we could study about this basis of classification, you have to know what is this animal kingdom, and you have to know what are all these non-chordates and what are all chordates, and then only we will study in depth. So first, for 10 to 15 minutes, we will be discussing about the basic features regarding this animal kingdom, and then we will shift to the original topic, that is the basis of classifications. Clear? So now you have to understand what is this animal kingdom. Now, the animal which belong to the kingdom called Animalia. So Animalia is a kingdom. So you know the basis of classifications, actually the hierarchy level. The first, if you talk about the pyramidal structures, in this pyramid, the first one is the kingdom, and then it comes to the subkingdom, phylum, and so on. And the last part of this will be occupied by the species, genus and species. So now here, when you talk about this kingdom called Animalia, okay, so all this animal belong to this Animalia kingdom. Okay, so now in this Animalia kingdom, all the animals are metazoans. What is this metazoa? So here, this animal which belongs to this Animalia kingdom are all metazoa. Metazoan means all are called multicellular. So multicellular organisms are called metazoa. It is an important word that you have to understand in this Animalia kingdom. So you know now what is metazoa. So metazoa is the multicellular animals. That is the point number one. And second one, these metazoa will be further divided into two type of subkingdoms. So number one is the parazoa, and the second one is eumetazoa. Okay, so metazoa will be divided into two type of subkingdoms. So this is the two subkingdom. So now these two subkingdoms are parazoa and eumetazoa. So this parazoa and eumetazoa we will discuss end of this session. We will study something before that, and then finally we will come back to this parazoa and eumetazoa. For the timing we will not take it up. Understand? So we studied the Animalia kingdom, and all the animals which are there in this Animalia kingdoms are metazoa. In the sense they are all multicellular organisms. Okay, right. So this metazoa alone is further subdivided into two kingdoms. One is called parazoa and eumetazoa. So when you take notes, you just leave some space for this and then continue for this. After that we will just fill it up. Okay, I'll come back to this little later. Right. So now we will now focus on some points regarding this multicellular organisms. Now, what is the other name for multicellular organism? We have understood they are called the metazoa. Now, when you talk about the two fundamental features of this multicellular organisms, what are those two fundamental features? One is structural as well as function. If you talk this multicellular organism in the structure based as well as the function based. So now the structurally, functionally, the multicellular organisms are not same. So that is what. So they are not same. So they are different. So this multicellular organism structurally and functionally they are different. Understand? They are different. So now, though they are different, but still there are some common fundamental features. If you take multicellular organism, we are very much sure they are structurally and functionally they are different. But what is the common fundamental features? There are two common fundamental features are there regarding this multicellular. So what are those common features? Now, the common features are the cell arrangement in the body. So the first one is the cell arrangement. So this may be a common fundamental features. And second one is certain physiological process. What are all the physiological process that we will discuss here? The digestion is a physical process. Digestion is a physical process. Second one, respiration is a physical process. Okay. Third one, circulation. Then excretion. And finally reproduction. So all these are the fundamental physiological processes. So now all these are common to this multicellular organism. So that means every multicellular organism will have digestion, respiration, circulation, excretion, reproduction, the cell arrangement, the body structures, everything. So all these are the common features. So now here, this multicellular organisms, they are structurally and functionally different, but they possess some common fundamental features. Okay. So since they possess common fundamental features, it is difficult for us to classify these animals into various groups. So what we are doing is we are finding out some basic characteristic which is only for that particular species, and based on that particular features, characters, animals are being classified. Understand, right? So now in this session, in this we have discussed about what is animal kingdom called Animalia, and all these animals are metazoan, multicellular, and this metazoan is divided into two subkingdom, parazoa and eumetazoa. I told you I will discuss later. And all these multicellular organisms, since they are structurally and functionally different, but they have some common fundamental features. Okay, alright. So now, first, before we could study the basis of classification, now we will study something about the two important divisions of this Animalia. Now, this Animalia is divided into two subkingdoms. So now, what are those two subkingdoms? Number one is invertebrates. So invertebrate is a subkingdom of Animalia, and the second one is called the vertebrate. So this is the second one. So now all the non-chordates are called invertebrates. All the non-chordatas. So what is non-chordata? They don't have the backbone, vertebral column. So those animals are called non-chordates. And those who have this vertebral columns are called the chordates. Chordata. Okay, so these are the two subkingdoms of this kingdom, Animalia. So Animalia kingdom is divided into two subkingdoms. One is called non-chordates or invertebrates, and other one is called vertebrates. Okay. Now here there are, now after kingdom we have subkingdom, and then we will go for some phylums. Now here we have got 35 phylums are there. 35 phylas. Among this 35 phyla, 11 phylas are major phylas. Major. Among this 11, 10 phylas belong to this non-chordates, and only one phyla belong to this chordata. Okay, so this is the important fundamental features. Now, the important phyla that you have to understand. So totally you will have 35. So among this 35, 11 is a major phyla, and among 11, 10 belong to non-chordates and 1 belong to the chordata. So in this topic, in today's class, we will be first discussing about all the invertebrate phylas, and after completing all the invertebrates, that is the non-chordata, then we will take up this vertebra, that is the chordata. Okay, so after completing the entire chapter, again we will come back to this flow chart, so that you will come to a conclusion. Okay, so now we are studying only a part of it, so only we will focus now on this invertebrate non-chordata, and then we will be discussing about this chordata. Okay, so chordata not now, after completing this non-chordates, then we will go for this chordata. Is that clear? Right. So now we are going to study about this 10 phylums, their examples, and then we will go for this basis of classification. Is that clear? So now in non-chordates, we have got 10 phylas. 10 phylums. Now, the first phylum in this is called the protozoans. So one thing that you have to understand regarding this protozoa, the example for protozoans here are, separately we are studying protozoan. I will tell you the reason why is, the example first you will study is the amoeba is a protozoan, paramecium is a protozoan, as well as the plasmodium. So these three things are the examples for protozoa. Clear? Now we already studied the animal which belong to this Animalia or called the metazoa. Metazoa means multicellular. But here this protozoa is not multicellular. They are unicellular. Unicellular eukaryotes. Okay. So it is not multicellular, it is unicellular. Remember? Right. So now here, since they are unicellular, they are not placed in the kingdom called Animalia. So that means once upon a time it was there in the Animalia kingdom. So now, because of this unicellular nature, this protozoa has been removed from this kingdom called Animalia and they are placed into a kingdom called Procista. So this protozoa belong to a kingdom now called this Procista because of the unicellular eukaryotic nature. Understand? So that is what. So extra points regarding this we will discuss later. So for the timing you remember protozoan. So once upon a time protozoan was there in the Animalia kingdom and now it is shifted to another kingdom called Procista kingdom. Is that clear? Right. The second one. So now we are going to study about the another phylums after protozoa. Clear? So first you have to always talk about this protozoa. Clear? Right. So now the first one here, because we have removed protozoa, so we will concentrate from the another one called the Porifera. All these are phylums are very important. Why I am teaching in the beginning itself is because you have to understand the phylums sequentially and the examples. Then only you can go into the basis of classification. Okay, when you study Porifera, then you will understand on what basis these animals comes under the phylum called Porifera and under non-chordates. Understand, right? So this is called the phyla called Porifera. An example for this Porifera are called the sponges. Sponges are the example for Porifera. Clear? Right. So Porifera body will have pore. Every phylum we will study their descriptive characters in detail. Okay, right. So second one is the Cnidaria. Cnidaria is the second phylum and the example for Cnidaria are called corals, jellyfish, all this. Clear? Right. So third one, there are so many examples, but now you remember this. And the third one is here is the Ctenophora. Ctenophora. So here, the example for Ctenophora you will have the comb jelly. This is an example for Ctenophora. Then the fourth one is called Platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes means it talks about the tapeworm as well as flatworm. All these are examples. Okay, right. Then the fifth one is called Aschelminthes. Aschelminthes. The example for Aschelminthes, you will have some roundworm. All this example also you have to understand. Then only we can study in sequence. Okay, right. Then sixth one is called Annelida. Annelida, all segmented animals like earthworm, leech, all these are the Annelida. And the seventh one is Arthropoda. Arthropoda means all the joint legs like cockroach, butterfly, all these are examples. Okay, Then eighth one, you will have the mollusca. Mollusca is always soft body animal. For an example, snail. Okay. Then ninth one, you will have echinodermata. Echinodermata, you will have starfish as an example. Okay, right. Then 10th one, you will have hemicardata. Hemicardata, you will have tongueworm. So all these are in sequence, you have to remember. Is that clear? Right. So sequence with example you have to remember. You have to memorize this. So first one, actually we talked about this protozoa. Then we talked about Porifera, Cnidaria, Ctenophora, Platyhelminthes, Aschelminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata and Hemicardata. So this is the 10 phylums that we have discussed here. So all these 10 phylums comes under non-chordates or invertebrates. Examples also simultaneously you have to study, and then we will discuss about, later on we will discuss about the vertebra as well as their phylums. Okay, so all these are the basic thing regarding this animal kingdom. So far what we have studied is, we have understood the kingdom called Animalia. We know what is metazoa. We know what is multicellular animals. We also studied about the two classifications or two subkingdoms of this metazoa, that is called parazoa and eumetazoa. Then we studied about the animal kingdom, Animalia, as two subkingdoms. So those two subkingdoms we have it called the non-chordates and chordates. In chordate, 10 phylums along with the example we have discussed. Is that clear? You remember metazoa has two subkingdoms, parazoa and eumetazoa. So we will add few points along with that. For the timing now, in this parazoa, all the poriferas comes under parazoa and rest everything comes under eumetazoa. Okay, right. I will take once again later on, not now. So porifera, you remember it comes under parazoa, and all other things from Cnidaria till end it comes under eumetazoa. Clear? Right. So now we will talk about the actual content which is there in your book. Before that, you have to understand this and then you enter into the another content. Okay, now we will study about the first topic called basis of classifications. So this is the first topic that we are going to discuss in this, that is the basis of classification. So we know animals are grouped into two subkingdoms. One is called non-chordates and chordates. So now among these two subkingdoms, on what basis scientists have classified? That is what very important is. Okay. So now there are so many fundamental features they have taken for classifying this basis of classification. The first one is level of organization. Level of organization. In level of organization, the organism is made up of either cells or tissues, organs or organ systems. So based on this organization, they have classified. Number one. Okay. The second one is based on the body wall. Body wall means we will have when we are developed in the embryonic stage. So in embryonic stage, either the organism has two layers in it. So those are called diploblastic animals. So they are two things. One is called, they are diploblastic animals. Diploblastic animal means they will have only two layers. Everything we will talk little later in depth. Okay. So diploblastic animal. So if the animal have three layers, they are called triploblastic animals. Okay. So this is, so based on this body wall, the animals are classified into those fundamental groups. Second one, based on the symmetry. Symmetry in the sense, based on the body structure. Okay, so based on that. So that is have another thing. So some will have no symmetry at all. So they are called asymmetrical, and some will have symmetry. So those having symmetry are called, there are three types in it. Those who are having body structure, then the sense, if you cut the body, it has to give kind of a shape. So those, if you cut, they will not give you an equal shape, so they are called asymmetrical. If you cut the body into two, it gives some kind of a shape in it. So this will have either, they are called the radial symmetry. All this we will talk, okay, radial symmetry, then biradial symmetry, then bilateral symmetry. So all these are comes under the symmetry. Then body cavity. Cavity is called coelom. So coelom is otherwise called as the body cavity. Coelom. Okay. So based on that. And based on the body segment. Some animals will have segments in the body. So based on the segment. And the second one, finally, based on the notochord. Notochord here means some organism will have a backbone in it, vertebral column. Some may not have this vertebral column. Some organism will have this vertebral column in the embryonic stage, and later on it will disappear. Or later on, some organism it will convert into vertebral column. So based on all these features, fundamental features only, today scientists have classified those animals. So on what basis the animals are classified? Based on level of organization, based on the body wall, based on the symmetry, coelom, segment, and the notochord. On this basis only scientists have classified those animals into different phylums. Is that clear? Right. So today we are going to concentrate on only first part, that is level of organization. On the basis of level of organization, how those animals are classified. Is that clear? Right. So we will talk about the level of organization. Of organization, we will talk about 4 different levels of organizations. 4 different levels we will talk. Now, the first one is cellular level of organization. This is the first one. It is the cellular level of organizations. This is the first one based on the levels of organization. 4 levels we will talk. With that we will complete today's class. So first one is level of organization. Under level of organization, cellular level of organization. Okay. Now, an example for this cellular level of organization, first we have to study about the example and then we will finally enter into it. Here we will call it as Porifera. Porifera, you know, is the first phylum. An example for Porifera are called the sponges. Sponges comes under Porifera. Correct? Right. So now it is a multicellular. All multicellular animals only we are going to study here. Okay, right. Now here, this Porifera, when you talk about cellular level of organization, so cellular level of organization is seen only in the Porifera. So in sponges. So here, each cell, so this is having cell. So the body contains many cells. In this, the body of this sponges have many cells. Okay, every point is important. Clearly understand. The body of the sponges are made up of many cells. Okay, multi-cell, many cells. But so if it is having many cells, so you cannot find tissue. So there is no tissue. What is tissue? Groups of cells are called tissues. But here cells are not grouped. So there is no tissue. So how the cells are? Here the cells are not in the group. So they are loosely arranged. So the cells are loosely arranged. They are not clumped. They are not crowded. So they are loosely arranged. So which means there are many cells. Each cell does different function. Each cell will do different functions. Different functions. Understand? So this is what very important is. So the cellular level of organization is seen in Porifera. They have many cells in the body. So the cells are loosely arranged. It is not forming tissue. So each cell in the body will perform different functions. Is that clear? Right. So now, if you see in the structure of the sponges, it is like this. It will be like this. This is the structure of sponges. We will study when you study about the Porifera phylum. So this is the structure of sponges. Understand? Now, it is having pore in it for entry of the water. So this pore is called ostia. Ostia is a minute pore everywhere you will find for the entry of the water. So I will take only one small segment of this. Okay, so here this is having the cells like this. Like this. So this cell here, the cell is here. So this cell is called, the first cell is called pinacocyte. I will write it here for your understanding. The first, so this is the first cell here. So the cell 1, it is called the pinacocyte. So I told you it is having many cells. Each cell does different function. So the first cell which is present outside is called pinacocyte. So where it is outside or outer layer. Understand? Right. Now what is the role of this pinacocyte? Actually, how this cell is, the cell is plate. It is present in a kind of a plate cells. How it is, so you can find it's in the form of a plate like cells. It is present. Okay. Then the very important function of this pinacocyte is to maintain the size and the structure of sponges. Maintain the size as well as structure. So the sponge structure, the sponge shape, everything is maintained by this pinacocyte. Okay, so that is point number 1. Second, you will find inside, you will find one cell like this. Only one particular cell I just draw like this. One cell you will find like this. Like this you will have inside. So this cell is called the second cell. This one, second. So this second cell here, I'll just write it here. Second, the first one pinacocyte. And the second is here this conocyte. Conocytes. Okay. Now the role of this conocyte, where it is inner. It is inner side. It is present inside. Now, how this conocyte is there? It is looking like flagella, a flage-like structure. Flagellated. Okay. So it is present in the form of a flagellate. Very important role of this conocyte is two important. One is called the digestion takes place by this conocyte, and the second one is respiration. So respiration, digestion, everything is done by the cell which is present inside is called conocytes. Okay, right. Then you will have certain other cells inside like this. So I will draw here. So like this you will find one cell. This cell is called amoebocytes. So amoebocyte is very important for delivering nutritions. That means it will receive the nutrition from this conocyte and send to the different parts of the cell inside. So that is what. So that means number of cells. You will find so many cells. We will talk all the cells when we study separately about this Porifera. Okay. So now, so this Porifera comes under the cellular level of organization. So under basic of classification, we are studying level of organization. Under that, Porifera comes under cellular level of organization. Why? Because this Porifera has many sponges. It has many cells. We have discussed only 3 cells, but there are so many cells are there. So pinacocyte, conocyte, then amoebocyte, all these are different cells, not combined with each other. So they are loosely arranged. So each cell is performing different function. So based on this particular character, this sponges comes under cellular level of organization. Is that clear? Right, that is very important. Is level of organization is tissue level of organization. Second one is tissue level. So what is this tissue level? Now, how tissue is formed, that you know, the group of cells, group of similar cells, that is what very important is. Group of similar cells forms or arranged to form the tissues. So this is how the tissues are formed. Group of similar cells forms tissues. Clear? Right. So now here, in certain organisms, for example, here we have two type of phylum. One is called the Cnidaria. Example, you remember the Cnidarians, right? There is corals and jellyfish. Then you will have Ctenophora. Ctenophora. So in this Ctenophora and Cnidaria, they are all comes under tissue level of organization. How Porifera comes under cellular level of organization, likewise Cnidaria and Ctenophora comes under tissue level of organizations. How tissue level? What is tissue level? The group of similar cells forms a tissue. Okay, so cells forms, but these tissues here, these tissues are poorly developed, not strong, poorly developed. Okay, so in some animals, these cells, that means similar cells that perform similar function, that forms the tissues. Is that clear? Right. So now, what are all these tissues are undergoing function? There are so many tissues are there. So for an example, all these chapters we will discuss. So what are these tissues? We will have this gonadal tissues. Gonadal tissue. This is an example for tissues. Gonadal tissue means reproductive tissues. Then you will have this epithelial tissue. Okay, this epithelial tissue. What is epithelial tissue? It is covering the body. So all body covering and giving kind of a protection to the body. Okay, so this is one tissue. So in epithelial tissue you will find all the similar cells which covers the body and gives protection, comes under epithelial tissue. All the reproductive tissues all comes under the gonadal tissues. Then you will have muscular tissue. The role of muscular tissue is for controlling the movement. So the group of cells form tissue called muscular tissue, controls the movement. Okay, right. So that means tissue perform a particular function. In previously we talked cells perform particular function. Here tissue perform particular function. Gonadal tissue perform reproductive function, epithelium for covering and protection, muscular for movement, and still we have some connective tissue for even supporting and protection. That is called the connective tissue. The connective tissue is also for support and the protection along with the muscle. Then we also have a tissue called nervous tissue, nerve tissue, and the role of the nerve tissue is for conducting the electrical impulses, electric signals or electric impulses from the brain to the different organs. Okay, so here this is what very important is. So this is the actual thing about this tissue level of organization. So here in this Cnidaria and Ctenophora comes under tissue level of organization. Why? Because tissue perform the particular function. And one more thing that you have to understand in tissue level of organization is all the tissue level of organizations are called diploblastic animals. Diploblastic. So when an animal is formed, when an organism is formed in the embryonic stage, it has only two layers, two body wall. Okay, so that is otherwise called as body wall or germ layers. Only two it will have. If it is having three, it is called triploblastic. If it is having two, so that means triploblastic animal first originated only in the Cnidaria and Ctenophora. So Porifera will not have this body layers. So that means there is no diploblastic, no diploblastic. So diploblastic is originated in the Cnidaria and Ctenophora. Okay, so example you will have this hydra also. So what is this diploblastic two layers? The outer is called ectoderm, outer membrane ectoderm, inner you will have endoderm. So these two layers, ectoderm and endoderm. Okay, Then one undifferentiated tissue will be there, but it is called mesoglia. One more, actually ecto is the outer, endo is the inner layer, body wall, outer body wall, inner body wall, and in between you should have mesoderm, but mesoderm is not formed here, so you will have the mesoglia. Mesoglia is not differentiated, it is not actually the middle layer. Okay, so that is what. So mesoglia will be also formed in the jellyfishes and all. So two things, one mark based you have to remember. Diploblastic animals are originated first in the Cnidarian and Ctenophora. Mesoglia is a not well developed structure which is present, which is separating the ectoderm and the endoderm. If the animal is having three layers, ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm, they are called triploblastic. But they don't have mesoderm, only they have ectoderm and the endoderms, outer layer and the inner layer. So all these organisms are called tissue level of organizations. And the next one, third one is organ level of organizations. What is this organ level of organization? So far we studied cells form tissues and tissues form organ. Okay, so that means group of cells form tissue, group of tissue forms organ. So example for this is called platyhelminthes. Example for this is called platyhelminthes and some higher phyla, all this. Here different tissue will be grouped to form organ, and this organ is going to do a specific function. Okay, that means that is what organ level. So this organ level will be seen in the platyhelminthes. So that means it has different organs. Okay, so different organ perform different function. So that is what, very simple, you have to understand. Different organ, different functions. Here you will have different organs for different function. Different functions. So this example and all you have to remember. Okay, so very simple. Cellular level means porifera, understood. Tissue level means next to two phylum. That is why in the beginning we have discussed all those phylums. Understand? Otherwise, straight away we would have come for basic level of organization. But the thing is, the phylum, the example that you will not remember, and that is the reason first we discussed all this 10 phylums. Okay, so all porifera comes under the cellular level. Then we discussed Cnidaria, Ctenophora. Next two comes under this tissue level, and finally now we are discussing about this platyhelminthes. Okay, so now this platyhelminthes comes under organ level. So that means this platyhelminthes, what is an example for platyhelminthes? Flatworm, tapeworm, all this. Flatworm. So in this flatworm you will have different organ, each organ perform different function. So what are those examples? You will have liver. Liver is an organ, it performs different function. Then stomach, it has separate stomach. Then it has brain. Then it has blood, that is blood circulation, that is heart, circulatory system. Then excretory organ, all this. Okay, so all these are different organ. So here all these organs perform different functions. Okay, so that is what organ level of organization. Clear? Right. Fourth one is organ system level of organization. Organ system level. Don't get confused with this technical terms. First one we studied about organ level. Now organ system. That means what is organ system? Different organ joined together to do one particular function. Here we have different organ. We have different organs. So there in previously we studied different organ perform different function, but here different organ does only a specific function. So example for this, the examples are very important. Example, so far we discussed Porifera, Cnidaria, Ctenophora, platyhelminthes, and this example is called Helminthes to finally chordata. So all or comes under organ system level. So that means what are all others? Ascalmanthus, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, Hemichordata, and finally in vertebra, one phylum that we have to discuss later called Chordata. So all this from Ascalmanthus to Chordata, all those organisms are placed under organ system level of organization. What is organ system level? Different organ does one specific function. So example that is, what is example? That is, for example, if you talk about digestive system. So digestive system, so all this is a system. You should talk about digestive system. So when you talk about digestive system, even when you talk about reproductive system, even when you talk about circulatory system, respiratory system, respiration, as well as circulation, all these different organs. So this is for example, specific function is digestion. For this you need different organs. What are organ? You need liver, you need pancreas, you need all the alimentary canal, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, everything. Even for reproduction you need all the different organs to be function. Respiration, lungs, everything. The circulation, heart, blood vessels, veins, arteries. Likewise, different organ joined together to give one particular function. Okay, so that is what. But previously in organ level of organization, what we studied, different organ does different function. But here all organs join together to perform one particular function. So that is what organ system level of organization. And very important one more question is, all the animals which comes under this organ system level are called the triploblastic animals. What is triploblastic? Diploblastic we studied. Two layers, ectoderm and endoderm. So they have ectoderm, ectoderm, then they will have endoderm, in between they will have mesoderms. Okay, this we will study separately after come. Next topic tomorrow we will be discussing about this germ layers, diploblastic and triploblastic. For the timing, you remember what is ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm. Okay, so this is, so the in Nidaria and Ctenophora, the diploblastic origination has taken place. But whereas from Ascalmanthus to Chordata, all comes under triploblastic animals. Okay, so that means mesoderm is started. So first one. So in this, mesoderm has originated, because before this these two, ectoderm and endoderm, is originated, but only in the organ system level the mesoderm has originated. Okay, some more things that we will discuss along with this, because since we talked about the digestive system, we talked about the circulatory system, in this organ system level some organism will have digestion separately and some organism will have circulation separately. With that alone we will discuss and complete today's class. Okay, based on the digestion and based on the circulation, these animals are classified into two. So now, based on the digestion. Now digestion, when you talk, there are two types of digestion that we have. One is called incomplete digestion. Incomplete digestion. And another one is called complete digestion. Okay, incomplete and complete digestion. It is also, we will call it as body plane. So now this incomplete digestion, examples are there. These examples are from Nidaria to Platyhelminthes. Nidaria to Platyhelminthes means we will have Ctenophora and Platyhelminthes. So these three comes under incomplete digestion. So that means complete digestion, everything from Ascalmanthus to Chordata. See, all these are examples are very important, because even in NEET based also they will be asking these questions only. So which all the organisms phylum will have incomplete and complete digestion. So always when you remember, you can write it in the short form. So that is C square P, like this you will remember. So C2 means you will remember Cnidaria, Ctenophora and Platyhelminthes, and this then rest you can remember as Helminthes to Chordata. But here we have not discussed about the Porifera. So that means those parts that you have to discuss regarding 1 marks. It is not including in that, but still I am talking. Why Porifera is not mentioned here? I write it here and then erase it. Porifera, why it does not comes under this incomplete and complete digestion is Porifera here it talks about the body is having only cells. So cellular aggregated. So the body plane is only cells. So that means the digestion that is taking place in the intracellular digestion. Digestion takes place inside the cell itself. So one particular cell, if it is performing digestion, means inside the cell itself digestion will take place. Okay. So that means they are not having any alimentary canal. Alimentary canal is absent. The other name for alimentary canal is called gut. Gut means alimentary canal, don't forget it. Okay. So they don't have this alimentary canal. You know what is alimentary canal? No? Mouth to anus. All these are called alimentary canal. They Porifera don't have this alimentary canal. Okay, so that is why we have not included here in this. Okay, so this is called Porifera. Extra point you have to make sure writing this point called Porifera. Okay, I will erase this Porifera and then I will start continue with incomplete and complete digestion. First we will discuss incomplete digestion and then go for complete digestion. Okay, right. Incomplete digestion example is called Cnidaria, Ctenophora and Platyhelminthes. Now here they have only a single opening. Only single opening. In the sense they have only mouth. No anus. No anus. Anus means you know no excretory organ. Excretory part. So they have only single opening. That means one opening is for both, for intake of food and excretion of the products. So there is only mouth is present, no anus. In the mouth, food particle will enter inside, the same mouth only, in the same opening only, the excretory product also comes out. So there is no separate opening for mouth and the anus. Only one opening will act as a mouth as well as the anus. Clear? Right. So that is what this that is why it is called incomplete. Complete means what? It will have opening for both. So here if you talk about the Helminthes to Chordata, it is having opening. That means two openings, separate opening will be there for mouth as well as anus. Okay, mouth and anus will be there. So we call this incomplete digestion as blind sac plan. It is also called as blind sac plan. We call this mouth and anus, two openings are there. So we call it as tube within tube. It is called tube within tube body plan. So there are two plans, blind sac and tube. So now the diagram part of this you remember, then you can easily understand. See, this is the actually diagram part of this. See, all these are extra information which I am just giving. All these are not there in the book. Right, so this is what opening is. So here this is the mouth, no anus, see, tube, it's a blind ear. So there is no opening, so it is called blind sac. So food enter inside, waste product goes out through this mouth. Only one opening is there. So this here we will have the gut cavity. Gut means alimentary canal, I told you. The gut cavity will have only kind of single opening. That means only mouth is present. There is no anus. Okay, anus is absent. So how this alimentary canal? The alimentary canal is in the form of blind sac. So mouth, here the mouth will act as a anus. Act as anus. Why? Because no anus. Understand? So that is what blind sac plan is. Is that clear? Complete digestion, incomplete digestion, right? Examples, what are the examples you remember? Cnidaria, Ctenophora and Platyhelminthes. Why we call it as incomplete digestion? Why? Because it has only single opening, that is mouth, no anus. So if they ask one mark question, no anus is found in dash type of phyla, Cnidaria, Ctenophora and Platyhelminthes. These organisms, suppose if they are not giving phylum, they are asking you to give an example. What example that you will give? Cnidaria, you can go for jellyfish. Ctenophora, you can go for comb jelly. Platyhelminthes, you can go for tapeworm, flatworm, all this. So all these organisms, there is no anus, only single opening. So food will enter into the same opening, excretion also come out with the same opening. So it is called blind sac plant. Why blind sac? Alimentary canal, only one side is opening, other side is not opened. Whereas in complete digestion, from Aschelminthes to chordata, you will have two opening, mouth separately, anus separately. That is called tube within tube. So here the diagram part you can have like this. So this is one and this is one. So here you will find one opening for entry inside and one opening for going out. So this is mouth and this is anus. Okay, two opening. So that means here what is the nature of the gut? Gut is complete. How the nature, the alimentary canal is complete. Complete means what? It is having two openings. Opening for mouth, opening for anus. Is that clear? So this is what the difference between incomplete and complete digestion. One more we will discuss along with it, that is called circulation, and with that we will complete today. Second one we will talk about the circulation. As digestion, we have two type of circulation. Number one is open type of circulation and the second one is closed type of circulation. Okay, open and closed type of circulation. An example, likewise, same. Here some examples will be varying. Here we talk about some arthropoda. Arthropoda means poda means feet, arthro means joint, legs, butterfly, cockroaches. Then you will have mollusca, soft body animal, snail. Then you will have echinodermata. Then one thing that we have to discuss in the vertebra, later on I told you, but now you remember, for example, called urochordata is an example regarding chordata. Now we will not discuss this. After the entire class gets over, when your phylum gets over, then we will come for vertebra and then we will study. Okay. So all these are having open type of circulation. Closed type of circulation example, we will have Annelida. Annelida is an earthworm. Okay, this is one. Then you will have another two, you will have this called cephalochordata. Cephalochordata. Then vertebrata. So all this, the vertebrate. So all these are having closed type of circulatory system. Okay, so examples are highly important. Examples very important, ultra important. You have to understand, because NEET based also they will be asking these questions. Examples. Okay, any NEET question paper if you refer, out of 10, 5 questions will be examples. Okay, so short form, always short form you remember. For this you can write above ACV. How you remember, you can write it. Even here you can write it AM, EU. So all this will be an example for you to remember, that's all. Okay, it will help you, that's all. Okay. So now what is this open and closed circulatory system? Now, open circulatory system means, see, this is the heart. This is the heart. Okay. From the heart, blood is taken through, so blood comes here, through a tube called arteries. Arteries. Here also you will have arteries. Okay. So you will have arteries. So now I'll just draw neatly, right, like this. So you will have arteries. This is also arteries. Now this area, this is called the body tissue. Body tissue. Now from this the blood enters through arteries and enters into the blood tissue, body tissue. From here also it enters into the body tissue. So now that means the blood will be filling this gap, filling in this body tissue. So this is what open circulatory system is. There is no veins to carry it out. There is no particular blood vessel to carry it out. And from here the blood returns to the heart by a process called diffusion process. Diffusion. Okay. So this is what the open circulatory system is. But what is closed circulatory system? Blood taken from, pumps from the heart. So here it is heart, and from the heart blood is taken by arteries, and then it goes to the arterioles and goes to the body tissue by capillaries. Then again it is collected back through the vein, venulus, then vein, then again it goes to the heart. So blood not comes out of the blood vessel, but here you see blood comes out of the blood vessel and fills the body tissue. But here blood is always inside the tube. See, it is carried through the arteries, then goes to arterioles, then comes to the capillaries, then goes to the vein, and then goes back to the heart. So since it is carried along with this tube, it is called closed circulation. But here it is not carried by this blood vessel, so it is called open type of circulation. Is that clear? Right. So my dear, that's all today's class. So what we studied today is, we have studied three things. I mean, very important. One is first topic that we have discussed about what is Animalia kingdom, what is Metazoan, then what are the two subclasses, subkingdoms of Metazoa, Parazoa and Eumetazoa. Then we also studied about the two subkingdoms of the kingdom Animalia, that is invertebrates and vertebrates. Then we discussed about all the 10 phylums in the invertebrates, that is non-chordates. Then we have discussed about the basis of classification. Under base of classification we studied level of organization. Under level of organization we have discussed some 4 levels of organization: cellular level, then tissue level, then organ system. Then in organ system we discussed 2 things: incomplete and complete digestion, and open and closed type of circulation. All these examples we have to remember. End of this chapter we will discuss 2 things. One is the entire flow chart of everything at a stretch, all the flow chart, and all the examples for each and every topics. Wherever we discussed example, everything we will once again we will see it and have a notes on it. Clear? Right. So please take down the notes. You cannot verify in any of those books all these points. So please take down the notes, and I will also post some notes for you to understand. So those notes also you can prepare for your extra points. Is that clear? Right. So that's all about today's class. Tomorrow we will be continuing with another criteria under the basis of classifications. Clear? Right. Thank you.